Hey, summer is here, and Gettysburg's licensed battlefield guides are ready to kick off another full season of specialized battlefield walks on their favorite subjects. First, enjoy an educational stroll at sunset with Tuesday evening walks through history starting on June 6th and going until the end of August. Then tours switch to Sunday afternoons and go to the end of October. The walks cost $35 each, and registration is required in advance. And don't forget, from September 22nd until the 24th, the Association of Licensed Battlefield Guides is proud to present Oak Ridge Attack and Defense. 3 days, 10 licensed battlefield guides, 7 battlefield tours, and much more. For the full schedule and registration, and don't forget you have to register for these, visit GettysburgTourGuides.org, GettysburgTourGuides.org. Are you ready for your next great Civil War read? Then try the new historical novel, The Heavens Falling, by Jonathan Lucci. Follow the members of the Dawson family through the Civil War, from the halls of Congress to the bloody fields of battle, and from the decks of gunboats to the solitude of Lincoln's office. The Heavens Falling is available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle, or visit theheavensfalling.com to order. That's theheavensfalling.com.
This episode of Addressing Gettysburg is brought to you in part by me, audiobook narrator Mike Scott, narrator of Savis Beattie's Bloody Autumn, the Shenandoah Valley Campaign of 1864, and Unlike Anything That Ever Floated, the Monitor and Virginia and the Battle of Hampton Roads. If you are an author or publisher interested in having your titles produced as audiobooks, or even just in learning more about the process, give me a shout. You can find my contact info on my website, MikeScottVoice.com. That's MikeScottVoice.com.
Enjoy historical stories on the History Fix platform. Explore movies, short films, and documentaries. Addressing Gettysburg podcast fans receive an extra $5 off the first year's annual subscription. Sign up at HistoryFix.com and use promo code Gettysburg. Every subscription includes a 7-day risk-free trial. Escape into history with History Fix.
Want the freshest cup of coffee in Gettysburg? Then visit Bantam Roasters, formerly 82 Cafe at 82 Steinware Avenue. They roast all of their coffee in-house, and they have a full coffee bar to keep you caffeinated during your trip. Visit them at www.raggededgerc.com for their menu and shipping options for all of their freshly roasted coffee. Use promo code Hancock for 10% off your order in the cafe.
And Civil War Trails. It's the world's largest open-air museum, and they offer over 1,300 sites across 6 states. Drive the Gettysburg campaign turn by turn, paddle to Frederick Douglass's birthplace, or hike to remote earthworks and artillery positions. Visit civilwartrails.org to request a brochure and explore their interactive map. Follow Civil War Trails and create some history of your own.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Addressing Gettysburg's Ask a Gettysburg Guide. Today, we're doing one of our top 10 episodes. It is a gorgeous day in June, and we are recording right in the pull-off in front of the Alabama Monument. Why? Because no automobile traffic is allowed down here, but foot traffic is. So we decided we would come down and have a piece of the battlefield to ourselves so that we could pretend that it's all ours, if only just for this recording session. With me is Mike Rupert, and we are taking his top 10 list of things to do in Gettysburg from the top 10 book. Who else did you do that book with? I don't have my copy.
We did that book with Richard Bellamy, who a licensed guide who has since passed, Jay Jorgensen, who was the brainchild behind it. Did you ever talk about that, by the way?
What, him being the brainchild?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Maybe.
I don't know if you want to do that. Go
ahead, tell us.
Okay.
It's his brainchild.
Let me go down the list. Larry Korchik, who's also a guide. Myself, who was not a guide when this book was written, but is now. And a couple, William Pat Schuber, which is one of Jay's friends in New Jersey, Ralph Siegel, who's a guide, and then James Woods, another friend of Jay's back in New Jersey. Okay, and the way this thing worked
That's not the actor.
What's
James.
that?
James, not the actor James Woods.
No.
No, okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So that's who was involved with this project. I was a very late comer on this project. Okay.
How'd you get involved if you weren't a guide?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
And it all starts with the the Doubleday Inn. My wife and I used to come here whenever we did come here, we would stay at the Doubleday Inn.
Okay.
We got to be good friends with the owners at that time, who were Todd and Christine Thomas, who have since sold it. They sold it at the beginning of 2018.
I believe I met them, yeah.
But nonetheless, so hanging out there one evening, there is a parlor, if you will, where they got a fireplace, and you can hang out down there. And I always like to hang out down there. It's my favorite room in the whole Doubleday Inn. And so we came back from something one evening, and I knew who Jay Jorgensen was because of the work he did on the Wheatfield walking tour, and then the Wheatfield book himself.
Right.
So I knew who Jay Jorgensen was. And I said, hey, that's, Jay Jorgensen in there. And Susie was like, I don't care. I'm going to bed. And so I said, no. I said his wife's in there. His wife's name's Maureen. Very nice lady as well. So we went in there and started talking. And basically, of course, Jay and I, one of the problems that Civil War historians do is they get involved or engrossed with the topics of books and reference works and all that sort of thing. So we're talking about that. In the meantime, while we're talking about this, and this conversation went on for quite some time, my wife, Susie, and his wife, Maureen, happened to drink a lot of wine. and so all of a sudden it turned into let's make fun of Mike and Jay and the Doubleday Parlor.
Of course. And
so and we had a great evening, didn't think much about it. And then it was about a week or so later, he wound up calling me and he told me about this project. And they were nearing the end. It was like winding down. And I said, Jay, I said, I'm a mechanic. I said, I'm not an author. And so he goes, just try. He goes, give you some ideas, just try. Okay. And because I was late to the project, all my things are not battle related. They're all post-war things.
Like tourism type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was my subjects to work on. And so then I started working on them. I did only get 3 sets done, and I wasn't sure I was going to be included, but he included me in on everything.
Nice.
So, which was kind of a nice thing to do, and so I got to be part of a book project.
So that means we can have you on 2 more times to talk about those other 2 lists. Very good. Yeah. Well, today we are talking about the top 10 things to do in Gettysburg. To experience in Gettysburg, and that's a good, I'm glad you corrected me on that, because that is a good word. I think people nowadays want an experience.
Can I touch on that for a second?
Go ahead.
As far as the word experience goes, and this is America. We're very materialistic. You need to have this, you need that, you need the latest iPhone or whatever it happens to be. But whenever you're talking about life, and I guess there comes a point whenever we realize our own mortality, if you will, we're not going to be here forever. Okay?
Yeah. Speak for yourself.
But some of us have a real problem accumulating things.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of my friends at the conference, CWI conference, I said this many years ago that, of course, again, somehow or other, talking about books and weird volumes or books that are hard to find, and I talked about my problem having to continually buy Civil War books, especially obscure ones that are out of print. And so, and she had went on to say that, she doesn't really collect anything, but she does collect experiences. So the whole idea as we go through this thing called life is that some people, and maybe it's a lot of things that are missed by others whenever they're amassing all these material goods, maybe you should try to collect some experiences.
I agree. I totally agree. Especially my place is rather small, and it's an old house, and they don't have closets in old houses. So I'm going through all of my things gradually and getting rid of them, whether it's tossing them or giving them away to people. And I agree. Life is not about. But you're right. You have to hit that certain age. For me, it was 37 because I went to the gym. I wanted to get back in shape, and so
how's that going?
Well, look at me. I wanted to get back in shape, and I went back to the gym, and I hadn't been in 5 years, so I just started where I left off 5 years earlier. but I had gained 30 pounds in the meantime.
I wish I could gain a few
Yeah, I
pounds.
wish I could not gain. The grass is always greener, Mike. You just be happy where you are. Anyway, long story short, I'm on the elliptical, right, trying to get the heart rate going, and I suddenly feel like I'm going to pass out, and so I get off the thing and I walk over. My cousin and I were there, and I walk over to my cousin who was at the weights, and I go and I sit on one of the benches. And he's like, "Oh, you want to start lifting already?" And I was like, "No, I think I'm going to pass out." And he's like, "Are you all right?" And like all the color was out of my face. And so I went, I said, "Well, I haven't been to the doctor since I was 24, so I might as well go now." And I went and I discovered I had high blood pressure.
Oh, Lord.
But to me, I remember I was like, my doctor looked at me and after he told me, and he's like, "Are you all right?" And I go, I've just never been sick before." And he's like, "You're not sick. You have high blood pressure." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's my point. It's like, to me, that's the end of the world."
Wrong, yeah.
Right, because I've never had any problems. I was very lucky. Like, I barely got a cold, but 2 or 3 years apart, So, anyway, the point is, that's when I realized that life is fleeting and it's fragile. And so I better start making the most of it and enjoy it. And so when you come to Gettysburg, ladies and gentlemen, you can go off this list and enjoy some of the things here. And for those people on YouTube who like to comment, "It took you 15 minutes to get to the point," I'm sorry that you have such a horrible attention span, and here we go. Now, what we're going to do here, we didn't get any submissions from our patrons for their suggestions of top things to do. To experience in Gettysburg. So what I did is I came up with my own, and so when Mike gives his, I'll give mine for that corresponding number. Also, these are not in ranked order; these
Correct.
are in random order. So we consider them all things of equal value, okay? Any one of these things you would have a great time doing. So, Mike, why don't we start with your number 10?
All right. My number 10 is, the title is Ice Cream on Steinway, and you should probably include the Baltimore Street as well. Because whenever this book was done, it was written in 2016. Mr. G's was kind of a brand new up-and-coming thing, but there were 2 previous ice cream shops on Steinway.
Mm-hmm.
And one was called Kilwin's Chocolates, and the other one was called Sunset Ice Cream.
Right. Now, Kilwin's is back.
Right.
But,
yeah, they were missing for a while. The whole COVID messed up a lot of things.
Yeah, but Sunset is now the creperie. I forget the full name of the creperie.
Do they have ice cream still?
I don't know if they have. They might. I have not been in. I went there to check it out one time, and they were just closing. And I spoke with Lori, the owner, congratulated her, et cetera, because she used to be a sponsor with her other business, Savor Gettysburg Food Tours.
Okay.
And
is that the same Savor on Baltimore? Or is that totally different?
That's Savor Hood. No, it's completely different.
Well, they use the same word.
Yeah, I know, no, but they're not related at all. No.
Okay.
But I was going to say, to your Mr. G's point, Mr. G, and I hate to say this because when I'm in the mood for ice cream, I'm not in the mood to stand in line.
Yes, that's a problem.
And Mr. G's always has a big line.
Yeah, like we did at CWI.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. But now, here's what I'll give a little secret away, and I really don't like to do this because it's going to ruin it for me, right?
Yeah,
There's 2 alternatives for you, folks, if you don't want to stand in line. One is right across the street, right on the other side of the lawn from the Rupp House, is Cone Sweet Cone.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious ice cream. And you can usually get in there without having too bad of a line, but it's very good. And they also have a walk-up window that you can go to. And then if you really have to have Mr. G's, well, then this is the thing I really have a hard time sharing with you guys because this has been my workaround lately. But I love this place. You go to Savorhood. They have a setup there, and there's never a line because the way it works there is you put your order into a kiosk, and boom, there you go. Yeah. So that's your little clue there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right, so my number 10. Or
okay,
one more to add?
I got a little more here.
Okay, go ahead.
And my little more here is whenever you do projects like this, you never really know who you're going to wind up touching or
pissing off.
Or I guess that. Okay, I didn't do that, at least not as far as I know. But what wound up happening is about a year or so after this book came up, I got an email, because my email is in the back of the book, from a lady whose parents owned Sunset Ice Cream Parlor. Okay. And this is kind of a touching thing here. So I just want to read this thing for you. She goes, "Dear Mr. Rupert, I picked up a copy of the Top 10 at Gettysburg a couple days ago when my husband and I made our latest visit to Gettysburg. It caught my eye in the Heritage Center, and I've been enjoying it very much. The chapter you wrote about top 10 things to experience at Gettysburg was particularly meaningful to me personally. 42 years ago, my parents started Sunset Ice Cream in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. My mom continues to run the business, but my dad passed away this January. I wish I could show him this book. He would be so proud to know that his beloved ice cream company continues to show up in the most unexpected of places. Thank you so much for that. Sincerely, Kim Porter."
That's very nice.
So
makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And then I wrote back. What I wrote back is pretty cool, too.
Okay.
I said, "Dear Kimberly, thank you very much for writing. I have lots of fond memories of your parents' Sunset Ice Cream. My favorite is being there one summer evening, somewhere around 2003. It was only a one-night trip for business near Harrisburg, and of course I decided to stay in Gettysburg. Just my 12-year-old son was with me. Steinware was absolutely alive that summer evening with tourists and living history folks everywhere. After dinner, Kevin and I were lucky enough to get a bench seat at the Sunset Ice Cream Parlor right out front. I said, I love those benches, and just ate our ice cream there and enjoyed the atmosphere. A fife and drum group was across the street at O'Rourke's playing Civil War tunes on their patio. A wonderful, exciting evening just hanging out at the ice cream shop."
That's a nice and common picture that you paint there, especially in the evening if you just stroll along Steinware Avenue. Oftentimes, if there's something going on and reenactors are in the area, the fife and drums will get over there at O'Rourke's and tie a few on, and
they are good.
Yeah,
they're
good.
Excellent musicians.
It's like a rock concert.
Oh,
it's awesome, and it fills the air all up and down Steinware, and it's just a great. To use a word we used before in the parking lot, ambiance for your visit to Steinware Avenue. All right, any more on that one?
No, that's it for that.
So my number 10 is listen to an episode of Addressing Gettysburg while on the ground that we're talking about. So whether or not we recorded it on that actual ground doesn't matter. If you go, if let's say, I don't know, it's an episode about Culp's Hill or Pickett's Charge or whatever, and you go to that area and you listen to the episode, and as we talk about things, roam around, follow us around. And of course, it's not designed for you to do that, but I have heard of people who decided that they were going to invent a use for those shows by doing just that, and they say that it's a great way to enhance their visit to the battlefield. So I'm going to pass that on to you because I've heard it from a lot of listeners. Listen to an episode of AG from the grounds that we are talking about. Okay, what's your number 9 there, Mike?
Okay, my number 9, I think most people know about this one, but experiencing a sunset when you're on Little Round Top.
Oh, beautiful.
You got to wait a year.
You got to wait a while, yeah. But I'll tell you, it is. And we're looking at it right now.
Top.
Yeah,
look at that.
I could see the 44th New York up there. No, is that... No, that's not the 44th.
No, that's the 91st
That's the 91st
Pennsylvania.
PA.
Come on, you
yeah,
gotta
I'm
learn
sorry.
your monuments.
I know my monuments, but I'm not used to this view. Yeah, the 44th is poking up over those trees. I can see it.
Barely.
Yeah. Okay, so that is the number 1 spot to watch a sunset from. Absolutely. Where would your number 2 be?
I think my number 2 would be the opposite. It would be sunrise on East Cemetery Hill.
Great. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good one. You're going sunrise, sunset. I, however, can't get up that early. So I will, unless I'm up all night, which I can no longer do anyway. But yeah, no. My number 2 would be the angle, but it's tied with either Oak Hill or McPherson's Ridge. Those are also some pretty good spots to watch it from.
Yeah, McPherson's Ridge, I think, is a good one.
But one that is not mentioned here, but is also very good, and it's a least visited battle, or sorry, part of the battlefield, and that's my number 9, which is visit Benner's Hill. And not that stuff did happen on Benner's Hill, but it's not so much for that as it is for the view. If you want to get an idea of the scope of the battlefield and the relation of one point of the battlefield to the other. Benner's Hill is a great place to go. You can see the town, you can see the Peace Light, you can see Oak Ridge, and
it is better after the leaves came off.
That's what I was going to say. That it's better in winter for sure.
Yeah.
But you can still get an idea of certain things in the summer, especially if you take somebody up there who knows what they're pointing at. You can go up in the summer and see things. But raindrop just fell on me, but it's not a rain cloud. But the you can also see Cemetery Hill and Culp's Hill. And I think if you're wanting to understand the battle, and if you're wanting to understand what happened with Latimer's battalion, you need to go up there and see just how close it is to everything.
Yeah, it is amazing how close things are.
Yes,
and that really becomes evident when you go around the battlefield in the dead of winter.
Yeah. Dead of winter for vistas and views and stuff is really the way to go.
Like, wow, it's right there.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, what's your number 8?
Number 8 is a stay at the Doubleday Inn.
Oh, very nice.
This is 104 Doubleday Avenue, and Doubleday Inn, of course, is not historic. However, let me put this in there. We got a rain cloud right above us there, pal.
I don't see it.
Yeah, it is that darker spot.
Oh, I thought that was a shadow. Okay.
But most of us are never going to be able to, quote, have a house on the battlefield.
Right.
But one of the reasons why I love the staying at the Doubleday Inn is because essentially you're totally surrounded by the battlefield. You don't need to worry about any excess amount of vehicles going in and out like your typical hotel parking lot. It's a very relaxed atmosphere there. You don't even need a vehicle. Walking or having a bicycle, you can do quite a bit from that point. But you're immersed around the battlefield. So it's kind of like, renting your place to stay, if you will. Now that's going to, I would see something, expanding on the whole stay at the Doubleday Inn. The National Park Service, some of you might know about this, they have in the works to have I guess it is going to be operated as an Airbnb or something very similar.
Yes. 4 properties, and I hear tell that they'll be expanded to 8.
Wow.
Eventually.
Wow.
And they're looking for a private company to manage
that.
Those as Airbnbs. They got to tweak them, though. I had a conversation with Steve Sims about it. They need to tweak the terms a little bit.
Okay, but that is going to be amazing.
Yeah. I know. We were heavily considering applying for that, and I just was like, I don't think I'm ready. But I would love to be able to do that. And, obviously we would advertise that through the show, and I know our listeners would love to live for a couple of days in a historic home in the national park.
Can I say something to that? A lot of these homes, like the Bushman Farm, I think it sleeps like 8 or 10 people. So you can help defray the cost by having some of your buddies.
Right, because it ain't going to be cheap. Whether I do it or not, it's not going to be cheap just because of the way the terms go and the split goes. It has to be a little pricey. So that's good. So the Doubleday Inn, and you're right, like it's got a good view.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, my number 8 is Walk Culp's Hill. If you go to Culp's Hill, you drive through it, and maybe you stop and you get out and you walk to one monument.
You miss a
maybe
lot.
2.
Driving it.
Right. There are trails there. They've they've cleared part of the woods in front of the Union breastworks. So there are a lot of things to see, and there are some monuments in the woods too, up by an Upper Culp's Hill down on the slope there. So you really got to get out of the car and walk around Culp's Hill. There's a lot for you to see there that is not only visible from the road, or not visible at all from the road. There's also the alleged burial trench up by the 1st Maryland monument, but I don't think there's anything there. Do you think there's anything there?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't think there is. I think there was.
Oh, that's what I mean. There was.
Yeah, there was.
I'm not saying there is now.
Oh yeah, no, No, I don't think there's anything left there. I think they've removed them and they're somewhere else.
Yeah.
But you can definitely see an indentation in the ground there. And people believe it's the burial trench.
And earlier, like 20 years ago, there were other known burial trenches around Culp's Hill as well. So
yeah, but they're no longer known.
It's hard to figure out where the heck they are.
Yeah. So walking Culp's Hill, that would be my number 8. You got to get out and do that. And now, especially with Little Round Top being closed for at least another year, it's definitely if you're a person who likes hills, hills that were fought over, then this is definitely a hill for you to explore. And remember, they fought for about 12 hours in total over Culp's Hill, and what 2-3 over Little Round Top?
Over 2 days. Your fighting over there is going to start about 7 o'clock until after dark on the 2nd, then from about 4:30 a.m. till 11 a.m. on the 3rd.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. All right, number 7.
Number 7.
Why'd you look at me like that?
Because this one is kind of the problem one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
Whenever this book was done, 2016-17 there, the National Gettysburg Military Park hours went till 10 o'clock in the summertime. Okay. While now the park is only open from sunrise to sunset. However, my number 7 was an evening walk lit by a full moon. Okay. One of the things to remember, July 1st, 1863, it was a full moon here.
That's right.
Which means that whenever you had the breaks in the clouds, open areas of the field would have been lit by the full moon. Now, granted, you would not have as much light in a lot of the wooded places, but it's one of those things, whenever you're in that kind of ambiance.
That's the word of the day.
Whenever you're in that kind of situation, you can become, I think there's a certain thing about being on the field, and with the darkness and you only have the moonlight, it's going to start to kind of take away some of the modern entrapments, if you will, and you're going to be able to feel more of what was here at the time. And it's just one of those things, but the problem is you can only be on the field a half hour after sunset, okay? Or you're going to be booted off.
Right. It doesn't get that dark.
Correct.
So,
that's the problem. So it depends, of course, on... Now, there are some times the way the moon phases work in and out. There are some times when you may be able to get more of this as opposed to others, because sometimes the moon doesn't rise until much later.
Right.
So it totally depends on that.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's a good one. I do miss those days of being out there, up till 10 o'clock at night, because there's something magical about being on the battlefield that late in the dark. And every time I see Steve Sims, I beg him. I try to bargain with him. I'll be like, I'll patrol. I'll volunteer for park watch. If and I'll get other people to volunteer too if it's a safety thing that you're worried about or a vandalism thing. Like, I'll form a posse if you want. And he just smiles and nods his head or shakes his head. He says, no, it's staying the way it is. But I'm going to work on him. I'm going to keep working on him until I win. My number 7 is explore McPherson's Woods. Here's why.
Well, what do you call him, McPherson's Woods?
Well, I'm calling the woods that we now Reynolds Woods,
Herbst
Woods, Reynolds Woods, McPherson's Woods. Okay. Well, all the way down to Willoughby Run.
Okay.
So don't just go through, because there is a trail that goes from
there are 2 trails that go down there, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Yeah. But a lot of people, I think, know of the trail that goes from where Reynolds was killed to the 24th Michigan area. Mm-hmm. But you can continue across the road over by the, was it 2nd Wisconsin or 7th?
By the fence.
Yeah.
By the fence is going to be, I don't know, I get those two mixed up.
Yeah, I do too.
Look at that.
Look at that. Okay, well, one of those Wisconsin monuments, I want to say it's the 7th, but
I think it is the 7th.
Yeah. That monument, there's a opening to a trail that'll take you down. You could see the quarry. Mm-hmm. Everybody always hears about the quarry. Well, it's still there. It's just a big hole. So you can go and see that, and then you can walk along Willoughby Run. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Tim Smith. Willoughby's Run, and you can see the bridgehead
Springs Hotel.
The Springs Hotel, yeah. There used to be a bridge that went over the creek.
Abutments.
The
yes.
abutments, that's it.
Yeah.
Up to the old Springs Hotel. And and then you can loop up. But the other thing that I thought was cool was that there's an area as you get closer to the road that is just strewn with rocks. And someone told me that is from when they were building the road. They just tossed the rocks down the slope there. Yeah, so you could see little evidence of when they built the road there. So that's cool. But also you get an idea of, what the Confederates, as they were coming up the hill, what the slope that they had to go up.
You're on the same ground.
Yeah, you're on the same ground.
Yeah,
and
grab a sheet out of the Lano map set, go down there. Yeah.
That's right. And now, I mean, if you were brave and you found a way to do it, you could cross the creek. The property on the other side is now owned by the Park Service. So, bring your tick spray, but you could definitely go ahead and check out that area there where Archer's Brigade came over and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think that would be my number 7 there. What's your number 6, Mikey?
My number 6 is, see, mine are all over the place.
Yeah.
We're going jumping from one extreme to the other here. Dining at the Dobbin House and or Spring House Tavern. Okay.
Delish.
Now, the Spring House Tavern, of course, is the all-stone underneath or basement or bar, whatever you want to call it. My advice there would be, I think, first of all, pretty much everything on the menu is good. Even some of their weird 18th century drinks.
Oh, yeah.
I've tried them here and there.
The Rum Belly's Vengeance is a particular favorite of mine. It's a 2-drink limit.
So, but if you go down, I will say this, though. Spring House Tavern is tight. Okay.
Yes.
And I mentioned this, of course, in my couple paragraphs here in the book, that if you do go down to the Spring House Tavern, that you want to wait for a table against the wall. Reason why, the tables they have in the center of the room, you could be butting elbows with a little too close for comfort. Okay, so wait for a table against the wall. In addition to that, I would also say this. I would very much, if you are going... One of the big problems within town, whenever you have popular places like the Dobbin House, Spring House Tavern, they get busy very quick. So if you're one of those families or couples who you can eat early, and if you would go at like 3 or 3:30, that'd be much better than going at 5 or 5:30.
Yes. Or go like after 7:30. Because you're going to get that dinner rush and you're going to wait for an hour and a half for sure. The other thing about the Dobbin House is it's a little more expensive, but if you go upstairs in the house, it's a different menu.
Yes.
And it's a more
different entrees. Yeah.
Oh yeah, way different. And it's there's more of a variety of things to get up there.
After COVID, the Spring House Tavern seemed to streamline their menu, as did many other places I've noticed.
Yes. But the food is good. I recommend, if you go to the tavern, you get the French onion soup, which you can get upstairs too, I believe, and the spit roasted chicken, half roasted chicken. It's delicious. That's what I always get. And that's the other thing. Get there early because they run out of that chicken very quickly.
Oh yeah, I've been there a couple of times when they were.
It's very popular and it's very good. All right, and so number 6. So yours was Dobbin House. So mine is Walk Pickett's Charge. Oh. We there's such romance and drama surrounded by Pickett's Charge, thanks to the movie and decades of history that put that up there as like the culminating event of the battle. And I don't know about you, Mike, but every time I've walked it many times in my life now, and every time I do, at some point, something comes over me and I get a little bit of a chill up my spine, because it is so. It's just imagining
it's
what they went through.
It's a surreal experience, just like many places on this battlefield.
It's almost like going back in time.
Yes,
right.
Which is really cool, and that's what was one of the biggest draws. Whenever I first started coming to this battlefield, I didn't know jack. All I knew was the north one. That was it. But there was something about standing that just totally grabbed my heart. Would not let go.
Nope. It's and it doesn't matter which side you side with. If you just think of being a human being.
Yes, the human.
And having to walk across that field and keep your eyes focused on the Union monuments up on Cemetery Ridge by the copse of trees or wherever. And imagine that, instead of monuments, you're seeing battle flags. You're seeing large plumes of smoke belch out as they send projectiles towards you as you walk over. Imagine, if you can, the sound of a shell whizzing over your head, or howling, or whatever sound a shell makes as it goes over your head, and try to put yourself. And if you can do that, I would be very surprised if you don't get that same tingle up your spine that I always get. So that's my number 6 there. Okay, number 5, Mike.
All right, number 5. Number 5 is going to touch on the whole living history aspect of this. We are kind of has tailed off from whenever 20 plus years ago when I first started coming here. But there are certain groups, living history / reenactment groups, who I think really do a heck of a job. And the one that I pointed out in the book is going to be the second South Carolina String Band.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many folks have heard these guys before. Their whole situation started out, just at reenactments, living history, where you had some guys who were able to play some music. They would get together at the end of the day here, and whenever they got together at the end of the day, they would play their music, but they happened to be really good at it.
Yes.
Okay. And so now that eventually it turns into a whole genre for these men, and I think they got to be pushing past the 30-year mark for doing this.
Yeah, they've been around a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But out of all the musical groups, the 2nd South Carolina String Band for the Southerners, and the 97th Regimental Band for the Northerners, if you will, because we got, both North and South there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the 97th is also very good on the Union side.
Now, I would add this, though. Do they still do that, or is that...
I haven't seen that. Everything that I seen was before COVID.
Okay.
So I don't know, and I've also noticed that after COVID and all the chaos with current events here as far as history goes, with riots and everything, anything Confederate seems to have gone into hiding.
Yeah, I do get a sense that they're going into hiding is a good word. Even in parades, I've noticed. Mm-hmm. There seems to be fewer Confederate units there, and I don't know if it's because they're unwelcomed or if they just decided they better not.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah, but, right. I guess the overall point is, in a generic sense, is that you can expect to find, especially if you come on a weekend in the summer.
Yes, you
can expect to find on someone's lawn. Like at the Children's Museum, Gettysburg Children of 1863 Museum.
Yes, yeah, or the old Rupp House.
The Rupp House, yeah. On the lawn, there's sometimes, not too long ago, I remember walking down the street and there was a brass band playing there. And you can find string bands and fife and drum and everything. And a lot of times they're impromptu, like we were talking about before with O'Rourke's. They just kind of materialize and start playing, and a crowd gathers,
and it's like, wow.
Yeah, and it's really nice. It's just one of those things that makes Gettysburg special. My number 5 is go ahead. Yeah,
one more thing here as far as the living history reenactment goes. There are some of those groups are really good at what they do.
Yeah.
As of recently, National Park Service has had a kind of a coordination, if you will, with the living history reenactment group called the Liberty Rifles.
Yes.
They're the ones who did the second...
the first Minnesota?
The first Minnesota. Oh, I can't believe I said that.
I caught you.
The first Minnesota last year on the 2nd of July, they went over their attack. They had the correct number of men. That alone, just to see that battle line was like, wow.
Awesome, okay. Yeah.
But these guys do their homework. They make sure the uniforms are right. This year, National Park Service is doing a coordination with the Confederate side, which surprised me, but I'm glad to see it, with the 8th Florida.
Ah.
And they're going to coordinate their battle walk for the anniversary with the Liberty Rifles, who were portraying the 8th Florida Infantry.
And that's during the anniversary?
Yes.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I got to find. What do you know when that is?
They fought on the 2nd and 3rd. So I imagine it would be the 2nd.
The 2nd. Now, for those of you listening, I'm sorry to say this will come out long after that. But the point is that every year on the anniversary, the Park Service often does something with a reenactment group or a living history group, and it's always worth coming here on the anniversaries. I do warn you, though, it's hard to get a hotel. Get your hotels months in advance, like 8 months if you can. If they'll allow it a year in advance, some hotels will not allow that. They wait, I don't know why, but so just be aware of all that stuff.
Because the software can only go a year out.
Is that what it is? Oh, okay.
Scheduling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a year out, yeah, but they don't allow it. Some of them don't.
Well,
let me put it to you this way. When I was a tourist, that was the problem we ran into, and we'd have to wait till September or something like that. And then, of course, you forget, and then March comes along and you go, oh, we better get a hotel.
Too late.
Yeah, then you got to stay in Greencastle. All right, my number 5 is get a book or two from For the Historian. Now, For the Historian is a sponsor.
20%?
Absolutely, yes.
Right.
They're still a sponsor. They're still doing 20% off. Well, as of this recording, but they've been with us for 2 years, so I'm hoping that they'll stay along with us. It's a great resource for our listeners, and they've got a great used book section. Every new book that's out, they've got it. And you've done all these other things that we've suggested you do. You've gotten, surely you've bumped into something that you go, oh, I want to learn more about that. Head over to For the Historian before you head home and get yourself a book. Number 4, what do you got, Mike?
Number 4, the Civil War Institute at Gettysburg College.
Oh, perfect. We just came from that yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that was a great time.
Now, let me give just a little background.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Civil War Institute was started way back in 1982. I was only a sophomore in high school at the time. I was 4. By Professor Gabor Borat, and he has started bringing together the finest historians in this American Civil War field, if you will. And it has since Gabor has since retired, and the director now is a professor named Peter Carmichael, and he has kept on that tradition of bringing in a vast array of subjects, of speakers, of different things to do, and he brings in the discussion part. It's not just somebody just speaking to you and then it's over. You can actually converse with these people. They have special dine-ins. They have the dine-ins are where you get to sit with the professors. You go over some material ahead of time. You're able to discuss over dinner, and they do that on 2 different nights. A lot of the panels, or I should say speakers, are going to be a panel type situation where you have a moderator with several panelists. They're talking about a given subject, and then the audience is allowed to participate whenever they ask their questions as well.
Yeah.
So it turns into quite an enlightening experience.
It's like a combination between college and summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
But except the difference with it being college is you're not being graded. There's no quiz or test, and everybody wants to be there. And the summer camp feel is, because everybody wants to be there, everybody's in a good mood, and there's a schedule, and we all just go along with the schedule and everything. And it's a full. Like we were just saying as we were walking here to set up, because we just came from it yesterday, and. Yesterday was the last day, and we had such a great time. But there was so many good things about it, and fun people. And I lost my train of thought. What were we saying beforehand?
It's a full day.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Thank you. It is a full day, and we would be there. I would get there 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, have breakfast, and then go back up to my studio that they gave us, and either edit shows or just we've recorded so many things that I had to clear space on my memory cards and put them on the hard drive and all that. And then then we got an interview scheduled, or we had a lecture to go record, and it's just such a fun time, and it's so full, and all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock.
Boom.
Yeah. and it just goes
it's not
by.
done yet.
No, and it's not done. That's just dinner, and then there's stuff after dinner.
Yeah.
You can do walking tours of the battlefields on some days. There's concurrent things going on, so sometimes you have to choose what do you find more interesting, because then you go hear that lecture.
Yeah, you got a selection.
Yeah, it is really worth your time and your money coming out here for that if you can. That's a good one, Mike.
One other thing with CWI, my first year for CWI was 2006. Okay, I was just learning. I was absorbing everything that I could. My wife, Susan, actually found out about this through word of mouth whenever we were staying at one of the places there in town, about where you come to Gettysburg and for a whole week you become essentially immersed in the place.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's effectively what happens there. What cool thing about it, you can stay on campus. Granted, now it's a dorm room. Okay, so it's not going to be, you don't have the comforts of a hotel or anything like that. But nonetheless, just like Matt said, you're essentially going to college for a week, except you're learning about fun things. Not calculus.
Right. Exactly. There's no math. And, I think it's important to stress that even though it's here at Gettysburg College, it is a Civil War conference. It is not a Gettysburg College or Gettysburg conference.
Yeah, because I went on a tour down to Antietam and stuff. So
yeah, that's what's cool is those day trips. My number 4 is go to the Gettysburg Museum of History. It's the new home of Addressing Gettysburg. And you probably have heard me talking about it long before it ever became our home. I've loved this museum since the first time I went there in 2011. There's so many cool things in there. And it's, again, not only Gettysburg. It's everything. World War II, probably some World War I stuff in there, too, I believe I've seen. Like they've got a lock of George Washington's hair. I think Lincoln's wallet and spectacles or something like that. Yeah, tons of stuff. There's a Band of Brothers room with Dick Winter's collection. So many things. JFK. You got to go there. He eventually is going to expand into the building next door that he bought, which is where our studio is as well. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it is a hidden treasure here in Gettysburg. It's right on Baltimore Street. You can't miss it. Well, you can miss it because it looks like a house, but he's got bunting out in front of on the front under the windows and a sign so that you can see it. I highly recommend it.
Again, Matt?
It's on Baltimore Street.
No, so what is it called?
Oh, it's the Gettysburg Museum of History.
Okay, you want to say the proprietor's name or not?
Eric Dorr.
Okay, you didn't say that.
I'm sorry, yes. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 3.
My number 3 has to do with 2 very, I call them key time markers, if you will. And it sounds like really out there, but if you think about it, it's really not. And that's the red buds and the tiger lilies. Okay?
Go on.
The red buds, battlefield, of course, we got all kind of trees and stuff here, but a lot of people think that the fall season, and it is an incredibly pretty time here, especially if you catch the trees changing their colors at the right time. However, once you get through winter, one of the first things that you're going to start to see that's going to really be striking against the landscape, of course, if it happens to be a good budding year, is the redbud trees.
Yeah.
Redbud trees are pretty much all over this battlefield. And we know that Washington and Jefferson did plant these ornamental trees in their homes at Mount Vernon and Monticello. It's unclear. I wasn't able to find conclusively that the redbud was on the battlefield at the time, but it didn't matter because by July they're not going to be redbuds; they're all going to be green leaves.
Right, okay? Exactly.
But the reason why this is a time marker because they typically bud sometime in April. That's when the weather is starting to get nice. That's whenever all the programs are going to start beginning, of course, for the season because essentially. Gettysburg is a touristy kind of town with most of the visitation occurring between, say, April and, pretty much up to Remembrance Day, but in November. But once you get towards the end of October, it's going to tail off. But the redbuds signify the beginning of that time.
Yeah.
And then the thing that signifies the middle of that time is tiger lilies, okay? Tiger lilies are those orange lilies that you see along the edge of the roads. Sometimes you see them in people's yards or just in even fields of them.
They just randomly grow, it looks like.
Randomly growing. And they were brought here in the late, I did find out from Penn State agricultural something. They were brought in the late 1800s, so they would not be native to the battle.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. However, it's one of our time markers. Reason why? The the tiger lilies are just about to start blooming now. Every now and then I see them starting to come up. However, they're pretty much out the entire month of July. And what is July here for Gettysburg? That, of course, is the high time.
Right.
You know, you got the battle anniversary, you got all sorts of programs going on. So these things, as you're cruising around the battlefield and looking at different things, these are going to be your distinct markers of time. So
that's a good one.
Every year, by the way.
That's good. Yeah, right. Hopefully. My number 3 is a tie. Really, I should have tied my 3 and my 4 together because I think these are all equally great in their own right. Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center and the Adams County Historical Society's new museum at Gettysburg Beyond the Battle. Them together with the Gettysburg Museum of History, if you go to these 3 in your trip during your trip here, you'll have a great understanding of the battle, especially the first day over at the seminary, as it pertains to the 1st Corps, also the 11th Corps, but the Adams County Historical Society is on 11th Corps ground, and so some of the battle-related stuff there is based on that as well. And they've got that awesome Caught in the Crossfire. What do you call it? Exhibit? It's not a ride, but it's it's an experience.
Experience.
There you go.
Hey, that's another word for the day. Experience.
Yeah. So do yourself a favor. If you got kids, especially, take them to these museums. I mean, if you want your kids to get interested in history, going to a battlefield is absolutely a good thing to do. But you got to have kids. They got to see, and if they can feel certain things, and I think these museums do a really great job of that. And that said, now let me throw in the Children of Gettysburg 1863 Museum and the Train Station Museum. Those two are run by the foundation.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're all interactive in one way or another. They're all very well done and staffed by great people, and I think you and your family will have a great time if you go there and check those out. All right, so that's our number 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with number 2 and number 1. And of course, this isn't a countdown with number 1 being the best. Again, these are all in random order, so I guess that kind of makes it anticlimactic, but still, there's 2 more things on our list, so we'll take a break, come back, and tell you what those 2 are right after these words.
Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center, Gettysburg's premier museum, is housed in the historic Lutheran Seminary building constructed in 1832, a witness to the first day of battle. The museum's 3 floors of exhibits connect visitors to the dilemmas that led to the Civil War, provide a powerful and personal view of the battle's first day, and explore one of the battlefield's largest hospitals. No visit to Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center is complete without a guided tour of the building's famous cupola, where on the eve of battle, officers and civilians saw thousands of Confederate soldiers' campfires burning to the west, and Brigadier General John Buford watched for vital federal reinforcements as fighting erupted on the morning of July 1st. Today, you can stand where Buford stood and discover how this view helped chart the course of the Battle of Gettysburg. Your trip to Gettysburg is not complete without a serious visit to Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center, Gettysburg's premier museum. Purchase tickets online at seminaryridgemuseum.org or call 717-339-1300. To get tickets or a cupola tour, listeners may call or walk in and mention addressing Gettysburg, or by ordering online using the promo code AG1863 for 20% off. Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center. It began here.
There's a devil to pay.
For the Historian has a wide variety of titles, new and used, of military books from publishers like Osprey, Gettysburg Publishing, Stackpole, Savas Beatty, UNC Press, and more. I make it a point to go there once a week because I have new bookshelves to fill and I never know what treasures I'll find, and neither will you. They even have toy soldiers, model kits, games, children's books, and more. So stop by and check them out on your next visit to Gettysburg, or better yet, order right now online at forthehistorian.com and mention that you heard about them on Addressing Gettysburg in the Note to Seller box, and they will refund you your shipping.
And if you call 717-685-5207 or stop by the store on your next visit and mention us, you'll get 20% off retail price. That's forthehistorian.com or 717-685-5207. If you're a lover of history, then go to trhistorical.com. There you'll find apparel, drinkware, decor, and more featuring a wide range of interests from the ancient world to the Cold War. Looking to make an impression with the perfect gift? Well, TR Historical now offers gift cards and a vintage wrapping service for a truly unique presentation. And our listeners will receive 10% off plus free shipping in the U.S. when you use promo code GBERG1863. So go to trhistorical.com, TR Historical, for the love of history.
You've heard us promote various ways that you can help us keep the show going, but one way we haven't pushed too much is our sutlery at addressinggettysburg.com/shop. That's a shame because we have designs over there by talented artists like Ty DeWitt of 1863 Designs and Mike Stretch of the Heritage Depot. So now we're promoting it. Buying shirts, hoodies, mugs, and other items from our sutlery not only helps us keep the lights on, but it also helps guys like Ty and Mike, and it helps spread the word about the show every time you wear an item or you sip from your mug. So head over to addressinggettysburg.com/shop and grab some merch. It's the perfect Christmas gift for the Gettys nerd in your family. That's addressinggettysburg.com/shop.
Hey, Gettysburg business owners. Winter is just around the bend, and you know what that means. No tourists. But just because people aren't coming to you doesn't mean you can't bring your business to them. If you ship, you're still in the game. And if you're a seasonal business, the time to advertise for your next season is in the off season when people are making their plans. So what's an affordable yet highly effective way of reaching those people? Well, it's not radio. It's not TV, and it's certainly not print. Step out of the Jurassic era of advertising and run an ad on Addressing Gettysburg. We just reached 1 million downloads, and we're growing by the tens of thousands every month. Beyond that, our audience is happy to support those who support their favorite podcast. So email sales@addressinggettysburg for more information about advertising on our show. We look forward to helping your business grow. That's sales@addressinggettysburg.com.
You're listening to the Addressing Gettysburg podcast with Matt Callery.
All right, we're back. Thank you for listening intently to all of those commercials. You guys are a great audience, and our advertisers love you for it. All right, number 2, Mike. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is the National Park Service Ranger Battle Walks.
Oh,
These
yes.
are the interpretive programs. Can I give you a little background on that?
Yeah.
Okay. The whole idea of the battle walk here, I don't know about other battlefields, but at least here at Gettysburg, it was developed by the late Gregory Coco, okay? U.S. Army veteran. He was a park ranger. He was also a licensed guide for a period of time as well, okay? And he came up with the idea that actually walking the field is going to help you much, how would you say this? You would much more easily understand the situation that these men are going through whenever you have, of course, somebody who's able to guide you with that, of course, the park rangers, and you're on the same ground, you're walking over that same ground, and you will never learn more than actually walking on these battle walks.
Yeah.
That's the way that I had, for my learning experience here, where I cut my teeth. And even though if you think, oh, yeah, I already know about this or I already know about that, you will learn something on every single battle walk. Another thing this is going to help you do is site relationship. And this is so important whenever you're trying to understand the different things. Who's on my front? Who's on my left? Who's on my right? By going on these battle walks, you're going to be, after a couple years, you're going to be able to go on any part of this battlefield or talk about any situation. And once you're in that place on the field or talking about that situation, you know everything that's going on around you. Who's coming up, who didn't make it, who did this, who did that. But how do you do it? You got to experience these battle walks. A couple things you need to qualify going on the battle walks. Park Service, after COVID, did change some of that. They used to be linger on pretty long, but now they tried to trim them all to the 2-hour time frame.
Right.
But I want you to keep in mind that whenever you go out on the battle walk, you generally have no option to go. So make sure you go before you go.
Oh, to go to the bathroom. Yeah. Well, that's good advice for anything that you're going to do on the battlefield. There are very few places where you can go. if you need to go.
Another thing I would say to that, some people traveling from different parts of the country, you might have certain trees or certain different plants and stuff that tend to irritate you, so make sure you've got Kleenex, make sure you take your allergy pill or whatever it is, because if you're constantly having to worry about that, it's going to kind of mess up the experience for you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Water.
Absolutely. And not like a little 12-ounce bottle or 16, whatever the small bottle is. Get a big bottle of water.
You'll be surprised how fast that is gone.
Yes, exactly. I learned that the hard way. Well, I'm surprised. Now I agree with your number 2 there, Mike, but I'm surprised so far on your list I haven't heard this. Get a private tour with a licensed battlefield guide.
That is terrible. Okay, my disclaimer: I was working to be a guide whenever I did this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I figured you would have drummed up some, future business for yourself by adding that.
You think I would have? I failed there.
But really, along with the Ranger walks, and it's funny that this is both our number 2, even though again they're not in any particular order. The Ranger walks are a great thing. When I moved back here in 2018, I went on, I think, every one that first season, and it opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And that's the thing, too. And same thing with the guides. Every guide is different. They're not operating off of a script. Every Ranger is not operating off of a script. They do their own research. They put together the tour themselves, as do the guides. You can get, with a licensed guide, you can get a generic overview tour if you wanted that, but if you also want to get into the nitty-gritty, a lot of guides can also help you with that as well. So you have a lot more flexibility with a guide. Also, you don't have to deal with the unwashed masses. You can just be you and your family, or you yourself, or whatever. The guide will get in the car with you if you want. They'll drive the cars so that you can just pay attention and watch and check out the beautiful scenery. I think it is better if the guides drive. Yeah, some people are a little weird about that, but
not too many.
No.
I would say, you know what? Out of hundreds and hundreds of tours, it's a handful.
Is it good? Yeah. Good, because I think that is the better experience if you're not driving. But I really can't say enough about the licensed guides. I mean, as you probably can imagine, as being a listener of the show, we have guides on all the time. And it's because I think they're such an asset to the visitor coming to Gettysburg, getting a guide, and the association doesn't pay me to say this or anything, although they did buy advertising for something later, but that's for a specific event. But they only do it for a couple of months out of the year. The rest of the year, all I keep talking about is how important it is to get a guide, because I truly believe that. For my own experiences, having a guide makes everything make more sense. And
thank you, Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I didn't mean you, but everybody else. No, of course, and it's true. And having a guide is going to make it all make a little more sense to you. So you do yourself a favor and get yourself a guide to demystify all this stuff, because this battlefield is very well marked. There are how many? 1,300, 1,400 monuments and markers?
Depends on how you count. Say 1,350.
1,350.
If you count every wayside marker.
Yeah, count
marker.
them all. Yeah. They're over 1,400, let's say. Is that right? Right around 1,400. Even if it was 14, that's still a lot to me. So 1,400 of them is insane. But that can make it easier to interpret the battle if you have a foundation.
Yes.
But if you don't, and this is your first time coming here, and all you read was the Killer Angels, or maybe you didn't even do that, or you didn't even see the movie, and you're just coming here cold, and you get a map at the visitor center, the auto tour map, and you go,
lost.
No, I'll just guide myself around. You will end that day going, next time we come, we should get a guide. So save yourself the trouble and the gas and get a damn guide on your first trip out here. I don't know why there's any kind of question about that, but that's it. All right, number 1, Mike's number 1. What is yours?
My number 1, and this I used to do this a lot my first early years coming out here, and that is spending a day on a bicycle. Okay.
That's so funny. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
And the reason why I did this, or I started doing this, number 1, I like bikes. I think mechanically, I think they're kind of a neat thing and very practical to get around on.
Absolutely.
Okay? There are some hills here that it's going to be a little bit of an effort. If you got to push your bike up a hill, nobody's going to laugh at you if you can't make it. Just do it.
Yeah, believe me, nobody's going to laugh. I'm not.
But this is the way it works. And just like Matt said about whether you're getting a guide or going on a Ranger battle walk, I came out for some seminar, some conference or some specific topic, I always tried to have an extra day. And this extra day would be for me to go back out after I had the official layout or lecture or program. Go out on your own. You have the bike. You're going to be a lot more flexible. You're going to cover a lot more ground, spend the whole day, and you're going to be able to see and take in so much more. And that brings that total experience so much more complete because you're right there.
Yeah.
And covering a lot of ground.
It's funny. Our top. Some of these are very similar, and my number one is a bicycle tour. Now, I used to, in full disclosure, I started Getty's Bike Tours in 2005, so it's a little near and dear to my heart. But I started it because the best way is to walk the battlefield.
Correct.
But that's impractical.
Oh, yes.
And I know that because I tried to do it. You need a month to do it. You need to bring, tents and camping gear because it's going to take you a while. But I learned that the hard way because I came here on a family reunion type of a thing. My Virginia family and my Jersey family all met here for a weekend. And I said, I'm going to take you on a walking tour of the battle. We're going to do the whole battlefield. Up until that point, I had only driven it. And so you don't realize just how vast it is when you drive it, right?
Yeah, you're in trouble.
So my uncle dropped us off at the Buford statue. And by the time we got to the Schultz house, everybody was dying. And we had gone through all of our water, which was that small 16-ounce bottle. And we said, okay, well, Uncle Jeff wouldn't know how to find us, so we have to walk back. But do we go through town or do we go across Pickett's Charge? So we went down to Pickett's Charge, walked across Pickett's Charge, and our hotel was the Quality Inn right there. And we walked to the hotel and all just fell in the pool. We didn't even change our clothes. We were drenched with sweat. It was like middle of July, 95 degrees, 30,000% humidity. We were just drenched. And my friend was like, man, I wish we brought bikes. And then ding. And 11 months later, we opened. No, it was 12 months. It was basically 12 months later we opened Getty's Bike Tours. Getty's Bike Tours, the only bicycle tour company in town. You get a licensed battlefield guide, so you can kind of get my number 2 and my number 1 all in one. If you ride bikes, this is perfect for you. And you're going to get a licensed battlefield guide, and I'm telling you, I've seen it thousands of times over the years. People come back just exhilarated from what they went through. And with all due respect to all the guides that only do car tours, I've never seen somebody get out of a car tour as exhilarated as they do getting off of a bicycle tour.
I have.
You have?
Yeah, I've experienced that.
Because you've made them exhilarated. But yeah, that would be my number 1. Bike, that's funny. We both said bike for number 1. It is really the best way to see the battlefield, if you can.
I would say that on the National Park Service website, if you are going out on your own and not with an organized tour, make sure you review the rules. There are rules for bikes just like there are with vehicles, so be aware.
I would just say ride your bike as if it were a car.
Yes.
You can't go against traffic anymore.
And there are places where you are not allowed to ride it. You have to walk it, like through the cemetery. Do not ride your bike through the cemetery.
Don't even think about riding your bike through the cemetery while walking your bike.
Yes.
But while you do go through the cemetery, read the poem on the plaques going around. And as you read each stanza, or is it verse? Either way, as you read each plaque, read the words to the tune of the Gilligan's Island theme song, and it fits. That's all. That's all I'm saying. All right. Well, you know what I decided I'm going to do? I'm going to put this out this month. That way people coming this summer can listen to it and try some of these things out.
Okay.
Because if I were to do it in the order that it's in the pipeline, it won't come out till next winter.
Oh.
So I want to give people something to do this year.
All right. Well, can I add something to that?
Sure.
In checking with different warnings and such on the National Park Service's website, I encourage you, if you are going to visit here, especially for the first time, review some of the things on that menu. But going back to the the programs that are outside, the Ranger Battle Walks and any other type of special program outside. They do have things that will cancel it in the event, and I'm just very two brief things here. If there is a thunderstorm or tornado warning or a heat index above 105, the programs will be canceled.
Right.
Okay, so you got to be aware of these weather things, especially the height of summer.
Yeah.
And the event of the heat index is the excess of 91 degrees. The programs will be shortened. Okay. So just keep that in mind.
That's a good point. Yeah. There's and people are like, tornadoes. Well, you talking before about the Liberty Rifles doing the first Minnesota last year when they did it. Like, literally, as soon as they finished the charge, this tornado swooped through.
It was crazy.
And now,
I mean,
if you look, now you can't see it from here, but if you look at the top of Big Round Top from the Pennsylvania Monument, it looks like it's missing a tooth right in the front. Like, right at the top, there's a big gap, and that apparently was a tree that was blown down during that tornado. And so, yeah, tornadoes do come through, but not like Wizard of Oz type of tornado.
Yeah, nothing like that.
No.
Or nothing like... Oklahoma?
Yeah.
All those places?
Yeah, no. It's just a little mini tornado. But, I mean, enough to knock down trees. And,
and scare you.
And scare you and maybe send some things through the air that could impale you. So, be careful with them. Don't be like, oh, look, a tornado, and just stand there taking pictures. Like, get the hell out of the way. It could still hurt you. That's about it for us here, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your top 10. And, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you do come visit Gettysburg. And when you do... make sure you're doing some of the things on our list, if not all of them. I mean, basically, we gave you 20 things.
Yeah, and it's about the experience. Okay?
It is. Experience Gettysburg. Don't just be... honestly, I liken if you go through on your car or a bus only, you might as well just watch a video of Gettysburg because you
miss a lot.
And you're detached. You're not... You're not really... Now, of course, there are people who are going to write and say, well, I can't physically walk or I can't ride a bike, Okay, I'm not talking about you, obviously. But I'm saying for the people who are able to do it, do it. Get out there. Let that breeze hit you in the face. Smell all the smells of the honeysuckle at certain times of year or the manure.
When they're fertilizing the fields.
Yes. I mean, it's just, I'm telling you. I love this place, folks. I mean, look what I do for a living. Like, I do this all day, every day because I just can't get enough of it and I want to share it with you. So I hope you take our advice and come on out here this year, any year you can. And that's all for now. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to our patrons for being awesome. And that's it. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you, Mike.
You are very welcome.
Need a Corps badge or other insignia for your uniform? Then check out the Badge Maker. Here's what some of his satisfied customers had to say. Miranda said, I ordered an identification disc from Joe and it's fantastic. He hand-stamped it exactly as I wanted. Greg said, my unit has purchased from him in the past quality badges and good service. And Jerry S. says, the Badge Maker is the go-to place for accurate replica Civil War badges. So go to CivilWarCorpsBadges.com and attach a message with your order saying you heard about him on Addressing Gettysburg.
Our hearts so stout have got us fame, for soon 'tis known from whence we came. Wherever we go, they dread the name of Garryowen in glory. Instead of spa, we'll drink down there.